Greetings to you from Martinsville. Here, as always, we're glad to have this opportunity to be presenting God's Word and be studying with our local community here, and also those that are studying abroad with us through YouTube. We're very thankful for all those that are tuning in from out of state, and the encouragement that you are gaining from the information and the encouragement that you're giving back to us from watching these broadcasts and letting us know that it is, in fact, helping you, and that you are applying the things that you're learning, and that you're going out and trying to teach others. And that's definitely dealing with our topic of discussion as we get into that. But before we get to that, I think we did have a phone call. We need to get a phone call from Dad to discuss a situation that has arisen, and I don't know what he's doing. I told him to go ahead and call for us so that we wouldn't have this delay. All right, we've got somebody on line 3. Oh, that's our producer here, okay. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, so Dad, you have some, I guess, really breaking news for us that's going on today.
Yeah, Mike, I've got a piece of information today that Brian Edwards has, in fact, gotten his lawyer to file a dispute with the FCC.
Okay, we actually need you to restart that. Who's done this?
Brian Edwards.
All right, and what's he done?
This is Blessed Hope, basically, the church in Danville. Brian has gotten a lawyer to file a dispute. Let me see if I'm saying the exact words. To the FCC. Now, if your listeners are trying to figure out what that is, that has to do with Channel 17. Given Channel 17 is an antenna station, they are under the federal, I don't even know what FCC stands for, I just know it's communications something. And antenna stations have to abide by different laws there than you do, Micah. So it's pretty much 18. You can say or do quite a lot of different things that nobody oversees it, but if you're on Channel 17, the FCC can fine you. You remember some of the football bloops and all that kind of stuff?
Right.
They fine them, as much as $250,000. Well, they're trying to get Charles Star News to be fined the maximum amount as a result of Mark McMinnis discussing on television things that, and let me see if I can just quote how they put this, because I think the community really needs to know how Brian is trying to handle this. It's defaming his doctrine. Now, can you kind of do a little bit of discussing right now, Micah, like defaming doctrine?
Well, I'm confused as to how any lawyer could even think that that's going to be, anything that's going to be held up in court. When you're talking about, defaming, and just the idea of, defaming somebody's doctrine, I don't even know, and I don't know, I'm just shocked. My brain, I can't even comprehend as to what even Brian thinks that he's going to gain from this.
Well, I think that he isn't able, I guess, Micah, he isn't able to get to us. He says that WGSR, they need to cease its illegal broadcast practices, and he claims that one of the WGSR employees basically told him that if he would buy time, that they would cease their illegal conduct. Well, I talked to one of the employees that had a conversation with him, and they say that is absolutely not what took place. And And I'm hoping that we can get a call from that employee, and if your producer actually knows who that employee is and wants to give them a call, they can call in tonight and actually discuss with you if they like. I don't really see any problem with that at all on Channel 18.
Right. And I mean, how is he getting defamation of his religion or of his faith if what we are doing is actually quoting what his statement of faith is and proving it to be incorrect?
You know, I don't know, Michael. Let me read. This is something really weird. And just let your listeners hear this. Some of them might want to contact. Not only are television stations refusing to operate as required by FCC rules, but the FCC is also refusing to enforce its rules, and TV stations, at least WGSR, are attempting to blackmail the public and are demanding money from citizens who seek to have the station operate in compliance with the FCC rules. Now, I know that just like you're sitting there probably trying to process that. What in the world is blackmail? How would that come into play?
Right.
So it's kind of like they're taking on the FCC at the same time as trying to take on Charles. They say, the lawyer says there can be no possible excuse that would justify the FCC renewing the license of any broadcast station that operates with such brazen disregard for the law in general and for broadcast regulation specifically. So they're taking on the FCC and Star News at the same time, this lawyer is, and I want to get the actual statement, Micah, if I can, where they say what? They say, approximately 21 minutes in, Mark misrepresents the doctrines, the teachings, and the activities of Blessed Hope Incorporated. Now, Micah, would you gladly let Brian answer and represent his doctrines, teaching, and activities if he wanted to?
Well, certainly, and he's already had that opportunity with the debate that he had with you.
So, can I ask you, Micah, do you know the doctrines, teachings, and activities of Blessed Hope in an absolute way?
Well, I mean, I've just from what I've had in conversation with Brian Edwards, like, in private at his building, he's let me know some of the basic tenets there.
Well,
and even once we find his particular group of Baptists, if we can read their manuals, then yeah, we can know what their basic tenets of faith are.
Well, you couldn't even get him to affirm he's a Baptist.
Well, that's true.
So if he's saying that Mark's saying he's a Baptist, he might say, well, I'm not a Baptist. But can I tell you this, Micah? I heard his daughter tell people in Starbucks last week that they're Baptists.
Well, I think it was a little bit longer than a week ago because I was there with you.
So was it? So it was like 2 weeks ago then?
Yeah.
Wow, time flies. Okay, so are we defaming? Okay, here's another line. It says that Mark McMinnis attempts to defame the doctrines, teaching, and activities of Blessed Hope Church for several minutes. So, I would wonder how in the world they would prove that in a court of law. Does Brian even have a codified law any longer?
Right.
I mean, he doesn't go by the Baptist Manual. He doesn't go by Baptist Faith and Message. So this is one of the most unreal things I think I've ever seen. I mean, it's way out there.
Right. And yeah, especially once you connect it to the fact that they're also trying to take on the federal organization, the FCC, at the same time. And it's just it all boils down to, in my mind, and I was discussing this with some of the employees here, what has he got to hide that he's willing to go to such lengths to keep from having a conversation with us?
Well, I am reading in another section, Micah. It says that specifically it was a defamatory connection that Mark made between Blessed Hope and Planned Parenthood. So that in particular is the, evidently it wasn't, once saved, always saved, born in sin or something like that.
Right.
It was something that was said in connection with Planned Parenthood and somehow or other linking maybe something Brian said or did or whatever. And so anyway, as I say, I'm going to work at getting the Star News employee
Right.
to give, a first-hand of the telephone conversation
Mm-hmm.
and see if we can get that. Is the producer thinking that might take place or not?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like this might be just like maybe a good buzz opportunity, or a chance to bring headliners into it, or or just a special special religious review
I
opportunity.
had a 20-minute conversation with a Star News reporter / host, whatever, today. So filling me in on another side of it. So I would certainly participate. I'm sure you would participate in anything that they wanted to do to help the community understand what is going on at what levels.
Right. Right. All right. That's wild stuff.
Okay. All right. Enjoying your show.
All right. Thank you.
Uh,
All right, folks. I mean, friends, neighbors, you might be thinking, well, what else is new? Robertsons are always in trouble. Church of Christ has always got somebody trying to do something like this to them. But, I mean, in fact, if you go back and you read your New Testament, if you study your New Testament, this is the same type of atmosphere that the first century church was in also. Peter, John, Paul, constantly in and out of prison, constantly going before the courts there in Jerusalem. So for anybody to say, well, what y'all are actually doing is actually, hurting the cause or anything like that, no, this is an opportunity, in fact, for us to shine. In fact, in Philippians chapter 2, I believe it is, Paul writing to the Philippian brethren and writing about the fact that he is going to be in chains, that he's in prison, he writes about the fact that the zeal of the brethren there is actually strengthened, it's growing because of his bonds. Because, friends, when it comes down to it, when it comes to the Church of Christ and what we're doing, we are all about the mission. We are all about the work that is set before us, the task, the labor that has been given to us to do, and that drives us on. And the fact that we are meeting opposition lets us know, and from studying the Bible, we learn also, you're meeting opposition, then, and basically this level of opposition, you know what you have to be doing is the right thing to do. If it is the case, as so many people think in the religious world, well, it doesn't really matter what you teach, as long as you believe in Jesus Christ, everything's good. If that's the case, then people ought to be just leaving us alone and letting us do what we're doing. Not getting mad, not getting upset, not lawyering up and trying to go to court and spend all these thousands of dollars in court fees. Just leave us alone and let us do what we're doing. Why are you judging us? The whole religious community these days is just about the idea you're not supposed to be judging anybody. But yet what's happening here with Brian Edwards? Oh man, he's judging us heavy. I guess that no judging rule doesn't apply to members of the Church of Christ. Now, everybody out here in the religious world, we don't judge each other, but man, those Church of Christ folk, we're just, we're going to ignore that law that we've established for ourselves, and we're just going to lay it on them. Well, friends, that's perfectly fine with us. That's not going to, we do grow concerned about these things. We're human, we're fleshly, we have fears, but at the end of the day, when we're discussing these things together, we are concerned about this is only going to help the cause, and it's only going to help the kingdom. And if we go to prison, if we get knocked off of Star News or Channel 17, which we're hoping that's not going to happen, we certainly are not wanting that to happen to Charles. But we understand. Look, he hasn't won anything. Brian Edwards has not won anything. I mean, is he going to go around bragging? Oh yeah, I knocked this religious group off of television. Oh, that's really something for him to brag about, isn't it? He sounds a lot like us, doesn't he? Here we are, we're trying to get we're trying to get religious folk off television. Jackie Poe and his crew over there at BTW, we don't want them on TV. So who's Brian actually acting like? Sounds like he's acting a lot like us. But that's perfectly fine. We can do that with him if he wants to. But tonight, as we're dealing with this information, what Brian Edwards and the group over there at Blessed Hope are trying to do, friends, brethren, it just, as I said, it just re-emphasizes in me, and I hope it does so for other brethren that are watching, as to the importance that the Church of Christ actually has in a local community. Now, as we've been studying for several months now, we've been studying the Church of Christ, as is common on this show, but we've been studying thus far about its relevancy, how it was spoken about in prophecy, how it is just, it's the most important entity that is going to be found in our community. And part of the reason why that is because when it comes down, as we mentioned a moment ago, to its mission. The Church of Christ has a mission. And it's a mission that belongs only to the Church of Christ. No other entity is going to be able to do and be able to produce what the Church of Christ is going to be able to do and going to be able to produce. The Church of Christ is the only church that was planned by God. God never planned for the Baptist Church, Methodist Church, Pentecostal Church, Apostolic Church, Seventh-day Adventist Church. He never planned for any of those. It's the only church, the Church of Christ is the only church that was purchased with Jesus' blood. Jesus did not shed his blood for any other religious group than Christians that are in his body, which is the Church of Christ. The Church of Christ is the only church that is perfected by his Spirit or by his Word. We are not governed by any other book, any other manual than what's written in the Bible. That's the only book that we're governed by. And the Church of Christ is the only church that is able to do the work of God. No other organization is able to do the work for God. Now, they can go out here and they can claim that they're working for God, but friends, as we're going to notice in just a moment, that's just not happening. They can claim it all day long. But I believe that you understand, if you watch this program long enough, that we have presented a number of times, you can claim something all day long, but just because you claim it doesn't actually make it the case. The Church of Christ is divine in its origin, its nature, and its mission. Now you might be asking yourself, why are you putting all this emphasis on the fact that the Church of Christ is the only one that's able to do this mission, that's able to do the work of God? Because of what's been going on in our community with some of the efforts with religious leaders in Danville, Virginia. Now, this is a segment from Dad's show a couple of weeks ago. Can't remember exactly how long ago it was. But I'm wanting to use the WDBJ 7 news segment so as to give us an idea as to why I'm wanting to use this topic.
Lester and the Sheik Nordine over there. And this is what goes on in Danville. And right now, as a result of the crime in Danville, City of Churches and all the crime, they're having a meeting, and WDBJ 7 is covering that, and we're going to put it into perspective for you tonight, and we'll actually
talk about recent violence in the city. Jessica Griffith is helping bringing everyone together. She says there needs to be open communication for change to happen. There have been 12 homicides in the city of Danville this year, the highest we've ever seen. In the last 2 weeks, 5 shootings have resulted in 2 murders, and police say there have been 0 arrests.
We want to give them the opportunity to express and speak from their heart about how they feel about the shootings, the violence, and just the overall view of the Danville community.
City Council
perspective for you tonight, and we'll actually
talk about recent violence.
Now, I'm wanting to go back and kind of break down some things that are said because, friends, some of the things that are said in this news segment are just comical. Especially when you know, or rather when I know, how these people really are that this individual is talking about. Now, I know he doesn't really know Jessica Griffith. I know Jessica Griffith. She's been in and out of the television station. I've had to be on headliners with her, seeing her behind the scenes on different shows, and calling her on the phone. I know how Jessica Griffith is. So for this individual to begin his segment by saying, let's listen to what he says.
Violence in the city. Jessica Griffith is helping bringing everyone together. She says there needs to be open communication for change to happen. There have been 12...
She's wanting to bring people together so as to bring about, did it say open communication? Opening up communication. Now, friends, again, it's interesting to me how that these individuals are wanting to open avenues of communication except for when the Church of Christ comes around. Oh yeah, we want people to come and we want them to express what they're thinking about the city of Danville, but not those Christians from the Church of Christ that want to come around and talk about the Bible all the time. We don't want them to come in and voice, express what their thoughts are, because all they're going to want to do is bring up what the Bible says. Now, friends, when you're looking at what's going on with the city of Danville is in a mess. And I believe the producer said this was actually last week's show. But the city of Danville is also known as the city of churches. So here you've got all these religious leaders, pastors, reverends, bishops. You've got the chief apostle of the world in Danville, Virginia. Do you think Danville, Virginia ought to be having the problems that they're having here? If they were actually the church that God has established, and they are behaving like the church that God established, then no, Danville should not be having this problem. But you know what? The churches that are there, the religious leaders that are there, the communication, the discussions that they're having that are not centered around the Bible, they're not able to get done, they're not able to be productive in actually helping that community. Now listen to what Ms. Griffith says.
Homicides in the city of Danville this year, the highest we've ever seen. In the last 2 weeks, 5 shootings have resulted in 2 murders, and police say there have been 0 arrests.
We want to give them the opportunity to express and speak from their heart about how they feel about the shootings, the violence, and just the overall view of the Danville community.
So she's wanting people to come and discuss and express from their heart about these shootings. Now, friends, do you notice something that she left out from that? I mean, here she is. She's a pastor. She may try to deny it because she knows what's going to happen to her. You're going to pull the Bible out on her and how that the Bible teaches that a woman is not able to be a pastor. She's not supposed to be teaching over men. So she tries to deny it, she tries to cover it up, but it's out there, the information's out there. She's a pastor. And she's wanting to open up communication. Well, let's just see here how she does with trying to open up communication. And again, I'm having issues with my Windows Media, not wanting to open up with the Alt tab. So I've got to escape out of here and escape out of here. Bear with me. Now this was back when 50 Shades of Grey was coming out, and Caleb and I, we were out there trying to talk to people about where they go to church, or whether they're going to see 50 Shades of Grey, where do they go to church, is your preacher okay with you going to see this film? Went and talked to Gary Hughes because we came across one of his members. Gary Hughes didn't want to touch 50 Shades of Grey as to whether, well, I think he actually did eventually come out and say that no, people shouldn't go see it. Well, what about your member here? Well, he didn't want to touch that. Well, let's listen to trying to have some communication with Jessica Griffith on 50 Shades of Grey.
Hello?
Hello, I'm returning a phone call.
Hello, Miss Jessica. This is Caleb Robertson. I was calling to ask you a question about 50 Shades of Grey. Would you mind answering a couple real quick?
For why? Well, how did you get my number? Why would you call me?
Well, I'm calling because you are what the term was, a youth pastor. I was calling to ask if you would encourage the young people in the congregation.
No, I would not. No, I would not encourage the young people.
Okay, so are you publicly opposing 50 Shades of Grey?
Why would you call me?
Because I need to get your opinion as someone who would
Why?
Because you claim to be a woman preacher, and so if you are
I
preaching...
don't claim to be anything.
Now, ma'am, we've all...
Why don't you do this for me? Call my uncle, who is my pastor in Richmond, and why don't you talk to him? Because I'm tired of you all calling me and harassing me. Call my uncle. I'll give you his number.
What's the number?
His name is Pastor Earl Robinson.
Okay.
Now that's how communication goes with Jessica Griffith. Okay, so she's out here promoting herself, oh, I'm bringing people together. Well, okay, we try to reach out to Jessica in a dire time, and we got all kinds of people going out and seeing this filthy, sinful movie, and we're trying to get her to, come out against it publicly. Why are you calling me? Why are you asking me this? Why don't you just call my pastor? And in fact, I believe Mark actually went to this event where Jessica Griffith and all these other preachers were supposed to be, and they began to harass Mark. Harassing Mark and saying, we know what you guys are about and why you're coming here. What do you mean you know what we're about? We are really the ones that are concerned for this community. We are the ones that are actually out here trying to actually do something by trying to teach people what the Bible actually says about how they're supposed to live their lives. Now, friends, that's what being a Christian and really just being a good person is about, is going out in the dispensing of information. Caleb, in some of the shows that he's presenting here lately, I believe the one that I watched from returning from my trip was the one he did on Donald Trump and locker room talk. And he brought up a lot of extra, some secular information. Now, why do you think he would bring up Thomas Sewell and the other individual that he discussed, that's a professor here in Virginia, and the letter that he wrote to, it was like a town hall meeting letter about challenge to black people? Why do you think that he would even bring that up? Why is he even reading that information? Because we want information. We want to read things that are actually beneficial, that are dispensing useful information for other people to be able to use, to apply so as to make their lives better. I'm listening to information. A lot of it now is coming from individuals that have podcasts, and they either are currently in the military or they have been in the military, because that information they're going to give out so as to help. Really what we're having now is a crisis with our men and actually being men. How to be manly without necessarily being a brute. And one of the basic things that's continuously coming out from these podcasts is, look, if you're really wanting to be a man, you have to give out information so as to help other men. Now, how are we going to be able to do that? Now, friends, in order to do that, it's none of this business about people coming together and expressing their ideas and speaking from their heart. Let me go back here to my PowerPoint presentation. I cannot believe that Jessica Griffith and the other individuals that were assembled in that meeting, and all they're wanting to do is, well, let's get together and let's talk about the problems, and let's make promises to each other. That's really the problem that you have when you put a woman in charge of something like this. She does not know the first thing about bringing about proper change, because she's coming from an emotional standpoint. And instead of viewing of the facts, and let's deal with some information that's actually going to make us better. And Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 13, the Proverbs writer says, "Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold." That's what we need to be promoting to our communities. While Jessica and these other ones are promoting, you go out, you get a college education, you go out and educate yourself in the secular realm so as to bring jobs and income back to the city of Danville, which I'm not against that, but that's not to be the first thing that we're supposed to be promoting, especially her as a so-called pastor. We need to be promoting to find God's wisdom and to get God's understanding. For that understanding, that wisdom, the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. That wisdom is what's going to end up helping not just Danville, Virginia, but Martinsville, Virginia, Eden, North Carolina, and for those members of the Lord's church that are watching, your communities also. Notice this: she is more precious than rubies, and all the things that thou canst desire are not to be compared unto her. Notice this, verse 16, length of days is in her right hand. You want to live a long life? Get wisdom, understanding, God's knowledge, and in her left hand riches and honor. You want to be a person that people admire while you're living these long days? Then get in the Word. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. Listen, friends. These folks in Danville, Virginia, that are supposedly getting together with this ministerial alliance and trying to help Danville, Virginia, they're not helping it one bit. They are bringing it down. And here's another reason why. Because in this ministerial alliance, and actually at this meeting, you had a Muslim involved and actually up speaking. Now, friends, notice this. Notice what the Proverbs writer says. Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor. Her ways are pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. The only one that's going to be able to bring true peace, listen, friends, our president, our next president, our city council, here in Martinsville, Virginia, we have individuals that are up for election on city council, our senators, our governors, our mayors, they are not going to bring peace. No earthly, no man-made organization is going to be able to bring about true peace. The only one that's going to be able to bring true peace in every single person's life, because the rules are the same for every single person, is Jesus the Christ. And I'm going to jump ahead here very quickly, hopefully, if I can find the slide. Notice this in Zechariah chapter 9 and verse 9. Notice what the prophet says, the prophecy that he gives. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just and having salvation, lowly and riding upon an ass and upon a colt, the foal of an ass. Verse 10, I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall, notice this, speak peace unto the heathen. And his dominion shall be from sea even to sea, and from the river even to the ends of the earth. If we are wanting peace in Danville, Virginia, it's not going to come from any after-school program. It's not going to come from the YMCA, from the Boys and Girls Club of America, not from the Boy Scouts, nor from any government program, any government subsidy. The only thing that's going to bring peace to the city of Danville is preaching about Jesus the Christ, following His Word, living how we're supposed to live according to how He says. That's the only way you're going to have peace. But yet you've got a Muslim involved in this meeting, in this ministerial alliance, and look at what he says, what he believes.
Question, because I believe that Jesus, I believe in Jesus, I follow Jesus, I believe that Jesus came and they so-called crucified Him, and
so-called crucified him.
but I don't believe that they killed Him. I think He escaped death just like the Bible said, because when they took Him off the cross, they didn't break His leg like they did to other people. So if they didn't break His leg, they don't know whether He was dead, passed out, or what. And then when Jesus got up, rose up, He didn't leave His body. And I can read in Luke's, the last chapter of Luke, where Jesus ate food after He come off the cross. I can show you that in your book.
That all sounds good.
All right,
if you're willing to affirm all that, that'd be really great.
So Jesus was not dead. If He was dead, He wouldn't have come.
He said about Himself that He would die in Matthew 16, that He would go and He would die and He raised from the dead. So, you just said
I believe Jesus didn't lie. There's one thing about Him. He didn't lie. He told the truth. Jesus was faithful.
So there's his position. He doesn't believe that Jesus died on the cross. Now, when we go to the ministerial alliance and we ask them about this, notice what the response is. Friends, your preachers, they do not even care about the fact that Malvester is out here teaching people that Jesus did not die on the cross. I do not understand what they are thinking that they're going to gain by actually having him up there with them. I don't understand it. I mean, he really does not have any type of pull in this community. I mean, he's just a shyster. He is a schemer. He's just a hustler, is all he is. He's trying to get in with this group so that he can convert people. Now notice this, Mark and I, a Ministerial Alliance meeting, we had been kicked out of the meeting, so they're not really interested in any type of biblical communication.
But then the rest of the group said that
Hey there, Mr. King. Nice to meet you again.
Good to see you. So what are your comments on that?
I wasn't here, so I don't really know what's going on. You got me in the dark.
Well, I thought the whole purpose of this was that Christians get together and discuss, what we can do to better help the community.
Well, I wasn't here, so I
But now
was
they're
talking intelligent. I go ahead and find out.
Okay, well, if you could find out something for us why they run us out of the meeting.
I don't know what that
Mr. Jackson didn't believe me.
My name is Muhammad.
Mr. Muhammad. Okay, well, Mr. Jackson here didn't believe when I said that you made the statement that Jesus didn't die. Have you changed your views on that?
I didn't believe it. But I know him
we
as a
have
good
more
man.
important things and talk about that. We got to talk about here and now, right down to modern time. We living in a time now that we need to have a Jesus among us today.
Well, we have His Word,
Well,
and that.
the Word is nothing without a man.
Now you see, Mr. Malvester basically has the same problem that Brian Edwards has. You see, we know what he teaches from his own mouth. You see, we played the clip, we got him on tape. We know what his doctrine is. And so when we actually come knocking and we come calling and asking him in front of other people, Mr. Dixon, have you changed your position about Jesus not dying on the cross? Well, I'm not going to address that. We got bigger issues to deal with. We got other things going on here and now. So instead of answering you, I'm going to get a lawyer and we're going to try to sue the TV station and try to go against the FCC. Why don't you just answer what we're saying? Why not just deal with this? Now, friends, how can Jessica Griffith and the other preachers there in Danville, Virginia plan on doing any good for the community of Danville with this man in their midst? You're not going to be able to do it. If you are going to be the type of person to bring anybody in without any type of concern as to what they actually uphold, you're actually doing more damage to yourself. And the fact that you're not even centering your discussions around what does the Bible even say about making our community better. We had one of our members there in attendance at the meeting. He ended up getting up and leaving because he mentioned this to me, that they spent more time introducing the speakers and praising the speakers than they actually did with dealing with the issues that they were supposed to be dealing with. Now you see, friends, we are not concerned about that. We're not interested in that. We are about getting out there, dealing with these issues, telling people what they're needing to hear, what the Bible actually says about their life, so that they can have a better life. Notice what the Proverbs writer goes on to say. Her ways are pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her. And happy is every one that retaineth her. But you know what? We cannot even get people to open up their Bibles with us. We come around, we go door knocking, we want to have a Bible study with you. No, I don't want to study the Bible. What do you mean you don't want to study the Bible? How do you expect to live? How do you expect to know how to be pleasing to God? Well, I just feel, my heart's telling me this. Listen, friends, that's not what you open up your Bible, you know that's not the way to do it. The Lord by wisdom hath founded the earth, by understanding hath He established the heavens, by His knowledge the depths are broken up, and the clouds drop down the dew. My son, let not them depart from thine eyes, keep sound wisdom and discretion. So shall they be to life unto thy soul, and grace to thy neck. Then shalt thou walk in thy way safely, and thy foot shall not stumble. When thou liest down, thou shalt not be afraid. Yea, thou shalt lie down, and thy sleep shall be sweet. Those that are in the book and that are obedient to what God says, this is how your life could be. Now, that's not to say that bad things are not going to happen to you. Bad things are going to happen because we live in a world with bad people. But you know what? Even with that going on, when I lie down, I don't have to worry about anything. I'm doing what God wants me to do. I'm trying to go out and help others so that, like with my neighbors, I'm trying to go out and help my neighbors, talk to my neighbors, try to get them to become Christians. You know what? If my neighbors were Christians, I'd be able to sleep a lot better. I'm getting fine sleep now, but my sleep would be far greater if they were actually Christians following what the Bible says, because then I don't have to worry about what's going on around me. I know that my neighbors are not going to try to come in and take from me, steal from me. They're not going to try to abuse me. But you know what? They're not in God's Word. They're not Christians. They're not living godly lives. So I've got to watch my neighbors. You see how this is working? In Danville, Virginia, if more people were actually involved in studying God's Word, then we would have some problems, but we wouldn't have nearly the problems that we're having. Be not afraid of sudden fear, neither of the desolation of the wicked when it cometh, for the Lord shall be thy confidence, and shall keep thy foot from being taken. There's no reason to fear if you're following what the Word says. Now, Jessica said for those to come and express what's in their heart. The Proverbs writer also says, Proverbs 28:26, he that trusteth in his own heart is a fool. Listen, friends, if we're wanting to help our communities, we need to get out of this heart business. And we need to start studying what the Word says. And following the Lord's example, the apostles' example, of what the church is supposed to be doing. There's only one place to find the mission of the Lord's church. And that's in the Word. That's in the Bible. And if we're wanting to make our communities better, then we're going to have to make sure that we're in the book. All right. Caller, you're going to have to mute your television. You're on live.
Which church? And that's in the Word. That's in the Bible. Hello?
Yes, sir. You're going to have to mute your television.
You can't use the computer? All right.
Or whatever you're listening to, you're going to have to mute it and listen to your phone.
Okay, I'm talking now. Hi, my name is Marcus Holmes, and I am a young Christian in college. And I'm now focusing on politics and things like that. I'm, finally coming aware of it, and I have the opportunity to vote. But I am not sure of which political party I should righteously join as a young Christian in the Church of Christ, because it seems now that the political parties that are out now with the candidates who are representing these political parties are just a complete stray from what I think that as Christians we should represent. So, what political party, if a Christian can righteously participate in politics, which one should I join, or what should I look for?
Well, one of the things that a lot of our brethren are caught up in is they're trying to look at the moral vote. But I believe that if our brethren would really stop and consider it, the moral vote should not be a determination, because most likely those that are going to be running for the candidacy are not going to be morally sound. They're not going to have true Christian beliefs as according to the Bible. So what we're needing to look at is we're just needing to look at good leadership.
Yes.
Those that are actually going to protect us as a people. Romans chapter 13, we're told that those that are in government, that they're actually supposed to be the ones to bear the sword. All right? So we need government officials that are actually going to protect the people. And so that's what we actually need to be looking for, is a leader and not a preacher. And so, but you're asking about affiliating with any particular party. As far as connecting to a party, I'm just a Christian.
Yes.
That's my first priority. My citizenship is in heaven. I try not to get caught up in being overly nationalistic or too patriotic, because I understand that God can overthrow and rise up nations whenever He pleases. So all I'm trying to do as being a Christian, I'm doing my responsibility of trying to affect moral change, because that's what the church is supposed to be doing.
Yes.
So when it comes to my vote, I need to look for the person, the candidate, who's going to be able to lead and to be able to protect what it is, that our nation has. So, as far as connecting to any party, I would not necessarily connect to any party per se, as much as I'm looking for the person who's going to be able to be a strong leader.
Well, I have never looked at it that way, and I'm glad to have your insight on it. One more question. As a member of the Church of Christ, or a Christian, I just label myself as a Christian in the Church of Christ. When I'm in college, so I'm here with a diverse group of people, should I fellowship with people who are not in the Church of Christ, or only those that are in the church?
Well, as far as fellowship, what are you meaning by that? Like just going out and eating with them, or?
Yeah, just hanging out with them, or going out with them, or not sitting in a church service with them, of course, but, just having fun with them.
Okay. Well, in 1 Corinthians chapter 5, Paul makes a strict distinction about, the withdrawing process, and when it comes to fellowship, and, we definitely need to be careful as to the length that we go with this idea of fellowship, because let's just notice here what Paul says. Paul's writing, and he's writing to members of the Lord's church. He says, I wrote unto you in an epistle not to company with fornicators. Now he's going to qualify what he says, yet not altogether with fornicators of this world, or with the covetous, or extortioners, or with idolaters, for then must ye needs go out of the world. So Paul is saying, look, you're not going to be able to withdraw yourself from every fornicator, from every extortioner, from every idolater, because if you're going to do that, then you'd have to take yourself out of this world. You basically have to die. But, verse 11, but now I have written unto you not to keep company, if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, or covetous, or an idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner, with such a one know not to eat. Now, so there's what we have from Paul about it. Now here's the other side of it. I'm not going to go out and be with worldly people that are involved in these things. Like, I'm not going to go out. I have friends that are out in the world, and if they're going to have these get-togethers where they're going to be drinking and such as that, I'm going to stay away from that, because I'm not going to fellowship with them. I'm not going to participate with them in that. But if they want to go and have lunch with me, somewhere like at Subway or something like that, then okay, let's, we can go to this. And while I'm with these people, I'm trying to study with them. I'm trying to teach them what the Bible says about, about their lifestyles. So certainly the situation that you're in with being a college student would be found here in verse 10. Look, you're not going to be able to fully withdraw yourself from these people, because that's just impossible. And on top of that, we're supposed to be reaching out to them. We're supposed to be evangelizing to them. We're supposed to be trying to convert them.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, like you're saying, with your fellowship or your company with them, it all depends upon if you're in control of the situation, the activities that they are involving themselves in. I mean, we're needing to be with these people so that we can hopefully bring them around to what the truth is.
Well, and thank you for the insight and biblical sound insight, Ralph. And thanks for listening to my questions.
Yes, sir.
I'll be calling you back some time to time, because I'm in college and a lot of things get thrown at me, and and I do have elders and people look up at the church who can help me answer, but I like to go back for myself, and I call it doing the research, biblical research.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's my email, martinsvillecfc@icloud.com. if you'd like to, send me an email with any questions that you might have in the future, or we're all on Facebook, and my name is Micah Robertson, and you can find me on Facebook, and that can connect you with different ones that we're working with, and we can definitely communicate more in the future.
Okay, well, I look forward to that, and nice meeting you.
All right, very nice to meet you too. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
All right. Now you see there, friends, that's the kind of communication that we're needing to have, and I didn't mean to escape out of that. Why can't more of our religious friends in this area just handle with us like that? He came with a question, we went to the Bible with it. Why can't more of us actually do that? And that, in fact, is the mission of the Church of Christ. The mission of the Church of Christ is to go out and to spread the good news. The mission of the Church of Christ is spiritual in nature, helping those to be converted from how they used to be, walking in the flesh, walking under the powers of the princes and the powers of those that are controlling this realm in which we live, so as to bring them over to the truth and help them to better understand what the Bible actually says so that they can live better. You see, here's a young person in college, and he's struggling with the idea, well, I'm around all these ungodly people, and I'm not supposed to be promoting what they're doing. So if I'm not supposed to be promoting what they're doing, how am I supposed to be around them? How do I make that balance? The balance is you're not involving yourself in their sinful activity. You're not going to parties with them. You're not involving themselves in whatever activities that would go against what the Bible teaches. But when you are with them, it is in an area where, it's wholesome. You're able to get together. You're just people. They're not involved in any sinful activity. And you're just able to be there with these people. Now, how are we able to come to these type of conclusions? How are we able to reach this type of peace? Finding out what the Scriptures actually say. Now, we've got a few minutes left here. Good evening, caller. You're on What's the Bible Say?
Hello?
Yes?
I would like to speak on the, should you black community vote for Trump?
Okay, well, I think you've got the wrong show.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. That's no problem. Which, to put my opinion in there, I think people ought to vote for Trump. Now again, he's not a moral individual. He is not a godly individual by any means. But as far as it comes to being able to run the country, I believe that he's going to be able to do it. So I believe the black community should vote for Trump. You've been voting Democrat, as Charles Barkley put it. You've been voting Democrat for all these years, and you're still poor. So why would you continue to vote for a party that has yet to really do anything for you? Now again, friends, let's go back to what we were discussing just a moment ago with our friend calling from college. I love that. He's needing assistance. Well, all right, let's see what the Bible says. And I look forward to further communication with him. It says that, I believe he said he was a new convert, young in the faith, young member of the Lord's church. I'm looking forward to assisting him, studying with him, helping him in, whatever way that we possibly can. And friends, that's really what, we really didn't get into our topic as of yet, and I guess we can save this material for lengthier discussion next week, Lord willing. But friends, when it comes to what the Church of Christ is supposed to be doing, it's exactly what we saw there with that phone call. Putting ourselves out there, making ourselves available. This idea that, well, if we just put a sign up, or we put our building here and we put a sign up, well, people are going to come and find us. No, that's not necessarily the case. We have got to start broadcasting. We've got to start putting stuff out there so that people know that we're different and that we actually know the book and that we're trying, so that will in fact draw them in. And we've got members of the Lord's church that are in fact, they're trying to mimic what it is that's going on here in Virginia. And it's not just because it's anything special to Virginia, but we're trying to mimic what they were doing in the first century. I'm going to mention this brother. He may not want me to, but I want those that watch our broadcasts and that appreciate good men trying to do good work. Travis Thomas messaged me today. He's a preacher in Middle Tennessee, and they're going to a denominational Bible study tomorrow. And they're trying to get Bible study, trying to ask questions. So we need to be praying for our brother Thomas and the different ones that are going to be going with him, so as we're praying for them for their safety, praying for them in their preparation, praying for them in their zeal and their ability to encourage one another, and praying for them that they'll be able to go out and plant the seed. You see, brethren, that's what it's all about. Going out and actually striving to open these avenues of discussion. And our brother Thomas, he has not been to any school of preaching. You know what he is? He is just a Christian that sees the need, that is viewing where the church is heading, not evangelizing, not bringing anybody in, not being about the mission that the church has, and that being the Great Commission, going out and teaching and making disciples. Man, when he sent me that message, that was exciting. And I know that we've got other brethren out there that are trying to do the same. Got a friend in Oklahoma. Man, he's trying to talk to as many people as he possibly can. That's what it's all about. But you see, it's not based upon our own wisdom, our own understanding. It's just simply going out and trying to get people to get into what does the Bible say. Friends, brethren, appreciate you greatly for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow night for What Does the Bible Say on the Reedsville station, 8 o'clock, followed by a word from the Lord with James Ofield. I'm not sure as to what Caleb's topic is going to be tomorrow night. Didn't think to ask him, and not sure if he has a topic as of yet, but just tune in anyways. It's going to be great information. I appreciate greatly the calls that have come in, and look forward to further discussion with that young gentleman. Look forward to Bible study with you also, if we can assist you with that. Always ask for, what does the Bible say? Have a good night.